Okay. All right. We'll get started then. Welcome to the August 3rd Commission on Disability meeting. Have a couple people missing. Kate, Sarah, with Bobby and Bryce, Jeff Brown and Kelsey. So we have a lot of people missing. So
Yeah. And I don't think we have a quorum.
we do not. Yeah. Okay. So I don't see anybody here for public speak. I thought it was Layla.
I will say, can I say something about public speak just real quick?
Yeah.
Angelique, so there was a gentleman who emailed you and I basically, right? Or you're gonna
I talked to him.
Okay. Do you want to do that during public speak?
Yeah, I was just gonna, yes,
Okay,
thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Yes, so a gentleman over at, is it called Orchard Hill?
Yeah, Park Hill.
Park Hill. I talked to him over the phone. They're refurbishing that big red picture frame, and they want our opinion going forward. They want to involve us because they're trying to make it accessible. So he was unable to make it to the meeting today, but he said that he was gonna be in contact with us and invite us to come over. And he also said he used to be the chair for the Commission on Disability in Northampton. So that's why he was thinking of us. So that's where that stands for now.
So I just have one question. When you were talking to him, because I didn't get to talk to him at all, but did you get a sense of their timeline to do the work? That was my only concern, is that
right,
they're opening up the orchard display like in a couple of weeks, and so I just didn't know if I didn't know if you guys had talked about that at all.
Yeah, no, he didn't give me a timeline, but he made it sound like it was kind of far off. Like he said in the future. Okay. Along the road, like there was a lot of that type of terminology. So
okay. That would be the only thing, is if to just, maybe follow up with him just to make sure that that is the case, or because that's the hardest part about having a once a month meeting, is if they miss this one and they wanted input before September, like that's going to be tricky. But that was my only question.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'll write back to him then. Thank you.
Do you have his name?
Yeah, I can check really quick. Chris, is it Palamas? Is that how you say it?
How do you spell it?
Palames.
Okay.
And then the other public speak piece is that Lindsay from the city council contacted me and said that they wanted a letter around in time for their meeting tomorrow around the plastic drinking straw scenario that we had talked to them in the past, like that folks with disabilities need plastic drinking straw options. And so Jeff Brown had been the one that had all the knowledge around that. And so I already spoke to Jeff Brown. He already wrote a letter, and I forwarded that to you guys. So if you at some point could take a look and see if there's anything missing. It looks really good to me. There were a couple like spelling things, but we fixed those. So that's the other piece.
I had a question about that, and I'll try to pull it up, but
yeah,
I started to review it this morning. Does the letter, or did Jeff find that there's any, like, basically did the Commission on Disability like oppose the ban because there's no alternative, right?
Yes, that's what he had said. Yes. And because it a lot of times, like it's embarrassing to ask for the alternative, a plastic straw, or it makes you have to announce that you have a disability to the whole place that you need a plastic straw. So
okay. Yes. And I think it's appropriate. I wonder like how City Council will treat the letter, in all the other like testimony that they'll hear, but I think that's fine. I just wanted to confirm that. I mean, that's what I was thinking when Jeff wrote it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. So, as we start the,
Dan Baker.
as we start the items on the agenda, the first piece I have is the Survey Subcommittee. Eli made a flyer and I sent that out to you guys. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, because we were gonna print some out and then stick them around town. And if you have any ideas of where we should do that, definitely let me know. I have a few ideas, but
I was just trying to look. I don't remember seeing the flyer.
okay. I can send it to you again.
Oh, okay. I see. So Jamie had sent a QR code.
Yes.
I don't know if is that where we left off?
No. No.
Okay, good. Okay.
I will, let me see, right, draft flyer. Here, I'll send it to you right now.
Okay.
It's a really nice flyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
So
did you guys have a sense of how many you wanted to try to print in a first round?
I think like you had suggested, like you said, like 25 or 30 is what you could do in office.
Okay.
So we actually have the subcommittee meeting tonight at 5. So we're going to talk about where we want to put them and who's going to do what.
Okay. I mean, if you guys are okay, I think it's fine. The only question no, survey remains open until 10:15. So yeah, I think this is good. I think I can print, I can start today. I'll just print them in little batches upstairs. I can print 40 or 50 if you want.
Okay.
50 is a lot.
Yeah.
We could always print more if you need it, but I think that's fine. And then I think this is good because if you can work with Lindsay and get it posted on the city's website again, the city's website and the city's Facebook page, and then the planning department can share some of that out. That's always a good kind of pattern.
Okay. My computer says I have an email from Kate, but there's no email from Kate. I don't know where it is. I know last month she had a hard time getting into the meeting for some reason on her side. Oh boy.
Jamie, do you have any thoughts on the flyer? Have you seen it? Do you want to?
I haven't seen it, and I don't think I can pull it up right now on my phone. But I'll take a look at it when I get into the office later today. And
well, let me do this. Let me pull it up right now. I'll share my screen. Angela,
great.
Can you am I able to share? No. Would you be able to make me co-host for a second?
Yes.
I
should have done that automatically.
I should have put it on the OneDrive. I don't think I did that.
Yeah, it's fine. So Jamie, can you see that?
I see half of it.
Okay, I'll try to shrink. I mean, to me, I think it's fine. I think.
Yeah. Let me, before we make any copies, prints, I'll take a look. I got about 40 or so responses so far.
Okay.
And I can just confirm the time estimates better based on how much time people have actually spent on the surveys. It lets me know. So I know we're saying 30 to 45 minutes, but it might be that people are doing it faster or longer. But I think other than that, we can just tighten that up and give people a better estimate.
Okay. Jamie, we're having this subcommittee meeting tonight. Is there a way, because Kelsey was wondering if like that information can go into like an Excel document? Is that hard to do?
So right now, I mean, because the survey is still open, I can, I'll take a look and see what I can do, but I think the data is sort of like incomplete at this point, you know, and trying to like look at it to at this point, it's a little bit too soon. Yeah. But and I'm not sure what sort of reporting options we have. I know that I can view it, like I can go onto the OneDrive survey and like look at it. It gives me these like graphics and things like that, and I'm pretty sure it gives me an option to export it to Excel. So I'll take a look at that as well, and if I can export all the data, I'll just send it to you.
Thank you. Eli, have you had any emails or anything from people asking questions on that new email address?
I have not gotten any email.
Okay. I know there was one woman in particular that kept saying that she couldn't get in and it was bringing her to something funny. But I asked if she could do a screenshot, but she wasn't sure how to do that. And then it sort of drifted away, I guess. So, and I've checked in with her a couple of times, but she hasn't answered me since then. So, okay, I'm glad people are getting in there.
Do you think, Jamie, do you think for the September meeting, it would be a good time to do a little bit more display of the responses or how they're coming in or how we might be able to kind of synthesize them at the end? Would September be good? All right.
I guess so. So we said it's due on October 15th, and we want to start looking at it. Then I can try to see what I can do and pull together some statistics on it for the September meeting.
I think that would be good because it would be nice to get a little preview of what it's going to look like so that we can start thinking about how we want to use it.
That was going to be my next question. I'm really not sure what we're going to do and how we're going to. So we want to talk about that in the subcommittee meeting tonight. Like what should we do? What are our ideas? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, I haven't seen the survey data, but thinking about things that are one way, it's not the only way for sure, but one way is things that are physical barriers. Those are going to fall into a big category where we do have opportunities in the future for grants to remove physical barriers. So that's kind of like one bucket of things. And then the other will be a lot of other things that I don't really know what it'll show, but there could be, I think, trying to break it up a little bit and figure out what you're seeing. And I mean, it's going to be a task in itself to review the survey and figure out how to think action items. But I think that's fine. It's a good time to be thinking about that.
All right. Kate is saying like she can't get in, but I just resent her the link. So, okay, physical. There was one person in particular that was really like emotionally distraught as far as filling it out. She said that there were not, most of the options didn't fit any, like she didn't have it, like she needed the other, like an additional option to fill in her own personal answers on all of them. So she really feels like her submission was not aligned with who she is and what she actually wanted to say. So is that something that would be good to put in? Hi, Kate. I mean,
It's Kate.
Sorry about that. I guess the link I had was the wrong meeting.
it's the same as the old link should work too, because it's the same.
Well, I was in the meeting alone since then.
Oh,
I don't know what the problem was, but
that has actually happened to me before, so I'm sorry.
that's okay. I know I was supposed to take notes.
Eli had started, so you can just
Yeah.
go from here.
Okay.
I'll post what I have written in the chat, and then you can copy it.
Okay. So as you know, I guess we can talk about that, the subcommittee meeting tonight, about whether or not we want to add an other option, or that's why I was asking Eli if you had like a lot of feedback, or if this person wrote to you.
No, I haven't heard anything. But
She
did
was
you?
really distraught.
Yeah. Oh man. Did she give any kind of sense of like what like we should have, what she thinks we should have done?
Yeah, they should have almost all the questions should have had like an other area to fill in, because she was confused. For example, like it said, do you access the community center? And so she used to at one point, she doesn't now. And the reason she doesn't now is because there was some sort of accommodation issue. So she didn't know how to say yes or no. How do you say it? And so it became, very complicated for her. And then she said, I wish I didn't submit it. I don't, she asked me, which option should I have put? And I had just said, like, if you don't use it now, like you're answering for the time that you did use that service, and how did it go? So then she said, oh man, like I did the whole thing wrong. And I was like, no, it's okay. Like it's, and then I just suggested, like, why don't you write an email, send it to Eli or myself, and I will, about your complaints about what's going on. And she hasn't done that yet. And I said I would go over it, but she hasn't done that yet.
As you were describing that, Angelique, I got an email, so I apologize. It came in on July 14th.
Okay.
I'm gonna forward it to you and Eli, and I can email it to the group. I think it'll be trying to confirm whether the same person, so that you can have that for your subcommittee meeting tonight. The only thing I would throw out there is I think we probably don't want to change the survey point, because as Jamie said, we already got 40 responses and we're going to push out again. So just thinking of other ways that whether the person could take the survey again, or whether we can load in the comments into any other options that are in the survey. So I think if it's only one person, I think that's kind of manageable. I think we can try to figure out how to get that person's questions or concerns into this somehow. I don't know how exactly yet, but I think that's manageable because it's one person. The biggest fear you have with a survey is that 40 people pick up or have the same issue. And so it's good that we're not encountering that. So
yeah, when she had written it, we had just put it out. So then it made me concerned that like, oh, a lot of people are going to struggle with that. But now if it's been some time and you haven't, that makes me feel a little better about that. Like I feel bad
getting that to you guys earlier.
We did advise her to like fill in the comment section, but like she didn't feel like that fit. So, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would also be a concern if we wrote it in a way that kind of steers people toward certain answers, and we only got answers from the people who like were willing to be steered.
Okay.
Eli, would you mind emailing me your notes? I can't get them out of the chat.
Oh, sure.
Thanks. No rush.
Okay. All right. Is there any more items in regard to the survey? We good for now?
Oh, so I forgot about this meeting tonight. How do we is there a link for that meeting?
Kelsey is sending it. She already did send it, but she can resend it.
Okay.
All right. So then the next item is just, did people, were they able to read the article about the survey and the reminder or the Gazette? Okay. So I just wanted to make people aware that that was out there in case they didn't know. Let's see. I'm going to skip around a tiny bit. Because the other subcommittee meeting that we're having is like the calendar of events, and like we're not sure really what to do with the information. Like right now it's Deaf Awareness Month, I believe. And so we had asked Lindsay about posting stuff, and she said that she advised us to talk about getting a Facebook page, which we have talked about many, many times. So we have our own stuff because she didn't feel like she could commit to continuing to post our stuff, I believe. And so Kelsey's idea was, to do a Facebook page, but shut off the comments so that it's only output and no input. So then there's less management. Because I know one of the issues was who's going to handle it. And I definitely don't mind doing it, but shutting off the comments so it's only output. What are your thoughts?
But I don't understand what you're saying.
Having a Facebook page directly for the COD, but one of the reasons that we had said no many times in the past, because we talked to IT and, and it seemed like a big overtaking, like who's going to handle people's comments and who's going to have all the answers? Because I certainly, I'm not ADA certified, so I don't have all the answers. So who's going to handle this? And so her idea was having a page, but shutting off comments so that it's only output. So that you only post the survey, only post, hey, this, so, hey, this is going on, or go ahead.
So the planning department Facebook page, we don't allow people to comment, but people still find ways to comment and send emails and reach out, and messages get lost on Facebook. So,
okay.
I don't think that that's saying that we still have to, it still has to be monitored. It still has to be updated. It still needs to be maintained. And then there's a question about reach of how many posts a month and how many people are going to actually get them. So right. I would still be
hesitant.
It's not something that planning department can take on.
Right.
So if it's something that COD wants to do, that's really, my advice would be against it, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if we could work out, if we could I don't know, if we could talk to other people who have have bigger audiences, if they would if we have something to say, if we can make an agreement with them that they'll put out our messages.
So there's a couple of city councilors that have contacted me and said they had no problem if I forward them a post, but then it's going through city council and not COD, so then they would have to field questions and stuff and not have answers to it. Yeah. I'm not really sure Kate, you had your hand up earlier?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, just personal experience with the whole Facebook page thing. We tried doing that at my company. I thought having a Facebook page would be a good idea, and we did the turning off the comments thing, and it's a lot of work.
Okay. So
unless somebody has a lot of time to dedicate to keeping up on posting and monitoring it, it's almost, if you're not going to do that, it's almost a waste of time to even start one, because if you're not continually posting and getting activity, it just kind of sits there.
Okay.
So it just might be more work than anyone can really do.
What brings us back to the original problem is that, Lindsay said she didn't feel like she could, and we're trying to generate more content so that they know that we're here. So I'm not sure.
I would make a recommendation. It would be to consider kind of like writing a letter to the mayor. I think you should try that and see whether the mayor concurs that, because I kind of have a problem with this, and I'm in a difficult position to have a problem with something that is happening within the government itself here. But
Yeah.
I would consider the commission writing a letter to the mayor asking for the ability to share information about what the commission is doing on the city's Facebook page. I don't understand what the city's Facebook page is for if it's not for relaying messages like this. So
That's true.
Really, having watched us kind of go full circle, I really would kind of, not too firmly, but I would write a letter. We can do it together as a group, but
Okay.
asking, that the commission has important information that they want to start sharing, and it was determined that maintaining its own Facebook page is not really viable, but the city's Facebook page seems like a really good option. I think, to me, that it becomes a little bit more logical that we try that. Otherwise, I myself question what the city's Facebook page is for.
Okay.
Jeff, do you know who manages the city's Facebook page? Is it Lindsay Merrill?
Yeah,
It is Lindsay.
Right, but
Okay.
So I think I understand why Lindsay would have that, a reaction, because I think I had that reaction too in terms of the planning department, and I feel bad, but as the planning department, I was having a hard time being able to manage injecting scheduled posts and things like that. But I do think there's a difference between the planning department Facebook page and then the whole city's page. So maybe that's one route to consider.
So Lindsay you already asked Lindsay and she said no.
She had made one post, and then Kelsey reached out to her to say here's the information for the next month, and she was like, oh my goodness, Bubby, just well, now that you've asked, let's kind of have a conversation about how this is gonna go from now on. I'm so sorry, guys. And so it seemed like a very big deal, and then from there, okay, hi puppy, I will be right back.
There's a calendar of events right on the homepage of the Easthampton website, so I'm not sure why we couldn't utilize that.
Yeah, I think you could. I think that is one thing that you might hear is a focus on the website. So that's kind of a secondary conversation, which is it's another option. It's not as good to get information out to just post it on the website, but the calendar of events is a useful tool that I think the commission should have access to posting events. But I think the Facebook is kind of it's just a little bit different, but I think the letter is one avenue to pursue.
Okay. It was Kelsey's understanding that it was going to be a no really from here on out. But Lindsay also did say that she would need maybe some training and some help on how to make the post. And there's a big conversation. So just wanted to check in with that about the Facebook page. Okay. Thank you guys. Jeff, did you want to talk about the Wayfinder meeting really quick? It went pretty well, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
The signs and.
Yep. The city is in a process to look at a basic kind of sign system to get visitors kind of two levels. One level is the people arriving in vehicles, and then the other would be kind of focus on the Manhattan Rail Trail. So as a pedestrian, that we have a couple of key places where you're crossing the rail trail on Union Street, and the idea is that there would be a sign that would direct you to Main Street or Cottage Street. So we're in the kind of the ending point of phase 1. And one of the things that came up that wasn't in the project was some kind of alternative method to access the signs. So one conversation I have quick, but it's something that we're looking at, is a QR code that would be an option for some people to access the information. And then from there, it's difficult to tell where we go, but there would be other options. An audio version. So someone who has challenges with sight could access an audio information. I mean, it's definitely evolving the whole sign system in a way that the hardest part is finding the money to do these other alternatives. But we did identify those as important things to consider moving forward. So what we're trying to do is finish phase 1, which will come up with some recommendations and a report that goes to City Council. And I think as soon as I see a draft report, I'd like to get it to this group to make sure that at least, making the signs available to people with disabilities is at least enumerated somewhere. Whether it's incorporated in the first round, I don't know yet, but it could come up in the second round or be part of a second phase. So that's kind of a quick summary of that. I do think that's a good opportunity for me to send that draft report to the commission before it gets voted on by the council. So I don't really have a timeline. I think like maybe October is probably a target for the city council meeting. So hopefully either in September or in October, I'd get it to the.
Okay. Awesome, thank you. So I had a question, because I know one of the meetings, because I had surgery, I didn't make it to the meeting. And Eli, you did the chairing. Did you guys talk about the some base level funding? Kelsey was asking about that, and then like doing the Roundup program, like Rite Aid right now donates to like Children's Hospital. Wait, is it Walgreens? Not Rite Aid. Is there a way to get that going? Having a local places instead of big places that have nothing to do with Easthampton.
I mean, it did come up, but I don't know. I don't think we really went into detail about how we could do it.
Jeff, is there, I remember we talked about, we can request some money, but I assume base level funding would be like having a bank account with the money collecting in it.
Yeah, I missed the beginning. Someone came into my office. I missed the beginning of your question. I apologize. Would you repeat?
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, it was just because I had missed a meeting a while ago when the base funding and was brought up, and then having the Roundup program inside of the different, like rounding up the dollar inside of Walgreens, and having it go to the COD instead of like, I think it's Children's Network, or is that something we can do?
It sounds like, from my recollection, that goes back to when Jeff Dugan came, right? And he explored some options for the commission to generate revenue. I just need to talk this through myself. But so one of them was I know that there was questions and concerns, so I'm not saying this is the best one, but there was parking ticket revenue that you would have to bring something to City Council to have that revenue go to the Commission on Disability.
Okay.
The other was the one that you mentioned, Angelique, about this other program that's more broad and people can round up their bills. I have no idea how to start that. I think it's a big conversation that would need to evolve over time. I would need to really sharpen some pencils on that and figure out how to it looks like Jamie wants to add to that, so maybe that's a future-oriented conversation.
Okay. And I guess I would just start with, what does the COD want to buy or spend the money on? Like, how much money would be is the goal? If it's just like a small amount of money, so flyers and photocopies and, things like that? Or is it like a large project that we need a lot of fundraising for?
One of them was one of them was for events. So, the pandemic has changed that a little bit, but Angelique had talked about having speaker series, whether it's virtual or in person. And I think especially the virtual one, one of the big costs was a translation or a transcription service. So I think Kelsey had run some numbers, like one event could cost $400 to kind of hold on Zoom and have it transcribed. So that was one of the items that we had talked about needing money for, right? That was the one thing I remember.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, a couple years ago when there was a different chair, I know that he had put in the request for, I think it was around $400, but somehow we kept missing the deadline or something. He wanted so that we could actually go to events, have a table with information on it and like a big banner, what have you. I don't know why we never got the money outside of.
Yeah, I know it was talked about to try to put in a budget request as part of the city's annual budget process.
Yeah.
And that process typically starts in December or January for different the departments to put in their budget request. And then, it goes through the mayor, and then there's a bunch of city council meetings, and it's eventually approved, usually April or May for the fiscal year starting on July 1st. And that's an option as well, is for the COD to put together a budget and have it ready to go. So when budget season starts, there's a request ready to go to the mayor and city council for, here's, a request for $500 to have some speakers and some education and training funds, which is like a reasonable ask for a budget.
When did you say it starts again?
Typically, the requests are due to the mayor sometime in January or February. So if it's so starting to think about it now, we're only meeting once a month, putting together a budget, getting it agreed on by the committee might take 2 or 3 months. So by then it would be, it could be agreed on and ready to go when the budget process starts.
So I don't know how it works. Do commissions or city council or school committee, do they have bank accounts?
Nope. It's the city's. It's a budget. It's not money that can be spent.
Okay.
It's a budget. It's a line item. That's and so if it's spent in that fiscal year, then you have to. There's a purchase order process. There's a whole financial process about this. The COD never actually touches the money. It always stays in the city's accounts. But it's just sort of set aside for COD to use for these specific purposes, assuming that it is approved by the mayor and the city council.
Okay.
So, Jamie, when you talk about submitting a budget, it really, I don't know if it the idea of an itemized budget for the COD makes sense. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. The idea is just we want a little bit of discretionary money, so that we can do not regular things, but yeah.
I mean, so it's the budget process is you put together we can talk about this more if that's the way the COD wants to go, but it typically involves putting together a letter of this is what the COD has been working on, this is what we want to work on, this is how much we think we'll need for these upcoming projects or events that we want to see, and here's the line items, or here's the list of items and their costs, and making it into a budget. So that way the mayor can say, yes, this makes sense, this is reasonable, and the city councilors can look at it and agree with it. And then it's not just, we want some money so we can spend it on maybe something that comes up at the last minute.
I see.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more proactive and thoughtful, and it's more likely to be approved in that manner than, if there's a annual education event that happens every year, and you know how much that's going to cost, and you think that 2 or 3 members of the committee want to go, and you put that request in.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for giving me all that information. That's helpful.
For what it's worth, most boards and committees don't have their own budget.
That's good.
Some boards do.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything more on that, guys? No more questions? Okay. The other thing I just wanted to bring up, I don't know if you guys, because since Kelsey can't be here, so she had sent the email that I forwarded to you guys about the forums accessibility, and then the let me see. Did anybody get a chance to go over that? Let me see.
Yeah, I must have missed that whole thing. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. While I'm looking for that, I just wanted to say that I went to the Northampton COD meeting and I had a good time. Everybody was great. Like, they seemed super involved and said you were a nice guy, Jeff.
It's good to see another commission. I mean, I would say that Northampton it's been around for a long time and it's very strong. So learning from them I think that's a great kind of idea. I think they might be a resource for the group going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the email from Kelsey, the first thing because this is from a while ago, May, it was Easthampton TV and the closed captioning issue that we've been talking about. They don't provide closed captioning. They could do it if the town wants to move in that direction. But of course, as we talked about before, it costs money. So we'd have to figure that piece out. And then the other one, that's what I don't fully understand. The accessibility of the forms online. Do you guys remember that conversation from a while ago, that they're inaccessible? Does that ring a bell to anyone?
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times.
Right.
The forms generally don't meet basic ADA requirements. So, it's the conversation I recall was that it's definitely a project. And it just needs people to focus on it and figure out which forms we have online and then how to make them accessible, which I don't know how to do that. So that's, that's where the project starts.
So do you know in what ways they're inaccessible?
I do not.
Okay.
Her email says inaccessible to assistive technology users. But go ahead, Jamie.
I thought it had something to do with like the PDF forms and documents that we had on the old website. Different boards and committees or different departments have forms. You want to rent a facility or apply for a permit or whatever.
Okay.
Some forms allowed you to, download and print them, and others you could fill in online. And, so we just got a new website. So all of that has changed. And like Jeff said, I don't know what makes a form accessible or inaccessible.
Right.
And in order to do it right, it would have to be done citywide for all the departments, and for the whole website, which it's a big project, as Jeff said.
Okay.
Do we know about how many different forms the city has? Is it like 100, 1,000? What are we talking about?
Definitely probably hundreds. Yeah. I mean, I think
Okay.
it's really two things that are coming to my mind is that we are applying again for a grant from the Office of the Massachusetts Office of Disability for a planning assistance grant, which is supposed to give us information about where there are barriers, both physical and access to programs. And so my guess, my understanding at the moment is that we could probably have the consultant look at the forms and come up with sort of the inventory of the issues and then identify it as a project. So that the way it would work is if the Commission on Disability wanted to redo their forms, I think that's kind of a manageable thing that could happen in the next couple months. But to do all the city's forms, that's a big project that has to be researched. It would likely be an outside agency who would help do that, and then there would need to be funding associated with paying that company to do that. So the idea of the planning grant would be that we will identify all the barriers and issues, and then they get on a list and prioritized, and makes the city available for funding to start to resolve some of the issues. So my summary real quick is that if we wanted to start with the Commission on Disability forms, because I think that's pretty manageable, like Eli, we could go on there and figure out what forms do we have, and then what do we need to make them accessible to people. That to me seems manageable as kind of the committee. But then to identify larger problems with all the city's forms, that's a separate project.
Okay. I didn't know we had any forms as a committee.
Well, we do have a website, and there's forms and information on there now. I'll try to look real quick.
Mostly, if I remember correctly, it's informational, like how to request a accessible ballot.
Okay.
There was some information about other links to other web pages.
Okay, by forms, I thought you meant something that people would fill out and submit to us.
I don't know what was meant by forms. It might be just documents, or maybe it's fill out forms, or.
She didn't list them, but she said it was definitely forms, because she said people start filling them out or they try to and they can't, they get discouraged, which then people can't be involved in the city like they should be able to. So I can ask her and go back and obviously talk to her about that, see what she saw, because just like you said, James, like I don't know what makes things accessible or inaccessible on some things. So
yeah.
And she's got the eye for it, so okay. Let's see. Let's see what else we have. Oh, the Jeff, the park on East Street. I know a long time ago we were trying to do like a field trip. Is that something we could do in the future so the world doesn't close down again?
Yeah, I mean, what's happening now is we have the project is out to bid for construction. So that means that contractors are looking at it and they're gonna submit on August 12th any proposals for the project. And it's a really important stage of the process to know whether we're gonna be able to do the project on the budget we have. Mm-hmm. So after August 12th, assuming we get proposals that are on budget, then we're going to sign contracts with the contractor, and we're hoping to start construction in September. So, the time to see the site now, it could be done, but there's nothing there. I mean, the general route is marked, but at this point, I think we're setting sails, like we're going forward. The good news is, as a reminder, this is it's going to be a paved parking area off of East Street. It's going to have handicapped accessible parking spaces, and the major goal of the trail is a 1,200 feet of an accessible trail that winds up through the woods to a lookout area. So all that's been kind of designed already. I think once construction starts, there could be an opportunity to do some visiting the site, and then the schedule is it'll start this fall. It'll probably slow down in winter, and then it'll ramp up again in the spring, hopefully done by next summer. So as one of my jobs will be to put out public information about the trail once it's started. So we could talk about that in September. I really need to make sure that we get proposals that are on budget before I do more outreach. So like the September meeting, I think would be a good time. I could give another update to make sure that it's happening. And then, I think getting the commission excited about it, because we're providing this trail for people of all, abilities. And so it'll be a really important asset once it's done. And I think having the commission aware of how it's going to look and where it's going to go, I think is important. And we're in this in-between stage where I personally just need to make sure that we're going to get proposals on budget, because if not, then we have to kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit. We're optimistic, but I think the September meeting I can give a better update just to make sure that we're moving forward in that.
And remembering one of the conversations we had a few months ago, what happens if something, I'm just curious, if something is fits the ADA requirements, but turns out not to be practical? Because I know Jeff Brown was saying, like, even though sometimes like ramps and the incline fits ADA, but like when someone's in an actual wheelchair, it doesn't. Like the wheelchairs are very heavy, and like to wheel themselves, sometimes it doesn't work. And so like, how does that work? Is there ever room for, like, once you try something out, it didn't work right, so you redo it? Or I don't know how that works.
There won't be that opportunity for this. So the one thing the one thing that may be important here is that the trail, it's going to be 6 feet wide. It's going to be sort of built of hard compacted gravel. So it's not pavement. But what we're trying to achieve is a different standard. So the standard for trails is kind of like we described it. It's a little bit steeper. There's a grade requirement that we have to meet, but it's different than like an accessible sidewalk downtown. So an accessible sidewalk downtown has to be a lot easier to traverse than a trail would be. So I think the user groups would have to be choosing to go out there. One of our key stakeholders that we did have involved was Riverside Industries. So the hope is that people who would have potential challenges doing it would get accompanied there and have support to get up to the trail. One of the things that we're building in is areas to stop, and then there's a couple areas that are steeper, and then it goes flatter, and then a steep area, and then you get to the lookout. So I think the answer to your question is that people would have to be choosing to go here. But I want to look into that and figure out how to better answer that question.
Okay.
The bottom line is that the standards that we're trying to meet with this is the trail. They're less rigorous, so they will have steeper slopes, but it'll still meet ADA requirements for a trail. So I think that's something. I have to figure out how to answer that question a little bit better, Angelique. I think that's good as we start to do public outreach on this. I'd like to be able to answer that better.
Okay. So you're also saying that the requirements are different, because if you're going for a hike on a trail, you're going to you're normally looking for something a little more tougher because you're going.
That's generally the idea, and okay. I want to polish up how to best articulate that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's everything on my agenda that I want to talk about. Is there anything that you guys want as we close up here? Anything you might want to talk about?
I can't think of anything.
Kate, how you doing over there? Yeah, I see the smoke. You're like typing. I see the smoke coming out.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate.
No problem.
Is there anything, Kate, that you wanted to add or question or?
I don't think so. I'm just looking back through the other meeting minutes. No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So our next meeting, I believe, is September 7th. So can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will move to adjourn the meeting.
And is there a second?
I second.
Everybody okay with adjourning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yep. Thank you.
See you next
Thanks,
time.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye.